Braving all that traffic and parking problem out there, and I have a fun show to show you here. I guess you can't see the colors that well. I work so hard to get the colors right.
Turn the lights on.
Turn the lights off.
Yes, let's turn the lights off.
To your right.
Okay, I'll turn the lights off.
There we go.
There we go. You're not going to watch a movie. My name is Konrad, and about 22 years ago I had gum surgery, and it was one of the most expensive and painful things I ever did. And after that I was doing everything religiously, going overboard, everything the dentist told me to do. I brushed like crazy, like 5 times a day, and 17 years after that, he said, well, you better schedule gum surgery again. I said, wait a minute, I've got to find a better way to this. I'm not going through that pain again. There must be a better way. So I went out and searched and found 2 products that looked really good to me. I loved the logic of the products. I used them for only 3 months, went back in to see a periodontist. He noticed, first of all, that I was much more relaxed in the chair. He noticed that my gums were much healthier. And he noticed that there wasn't any bleeding. Usually periodontists, when they dig down deep, they do a deeper cleaning than most dentists do, and there's usually a lot of bleeding. But I wasn't bleeding. And then he said, you know, you keep this up, you'll never have gum surgery again. So wow, okay, I've discovered something here. So I went and told Dixie, president of the San Francisco Vegetarian Society, about it. She said, well, you got to come and talk to our Vegetarian Society, tell us all about this. I did that, spoke to a group about this size, and immediately I had 5 invitations to speak at other places. I've been told that no one in the country is speaking on this material. And I researched it a lot, I dug deep into it, and I was so happy to discover at a certain point that the products that I'm using, the approach that I'm using, is very, very similar to what the ancients did. And in fact, the ancients are well known in certain parts of the world where they actually use these trees. Well, I'll explain that a little later, what that's about. But it was just so wonderful and exciting to see that I'm connected with the ancients. At the same time, the science was so appealing and so logical to me. And I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk to you about some of the things I discovered as I did this research, as I grew in this knowledge here, so that you can actually instantly go and tell whether oral hygiene product is actually good for you or not. The vast majority of toothpaste out there are actually harmful. There's 7 identified harmful ingredients found in most toothpaste. It's very, very rare to find a toothpaste that actually is, at least doesn't have bad ingredients, and it's even rare to find one that actually has some good ingredients that actually help you. There's also been another issue I want to be sure to cover, and that is I've been to several different vegetarian sites, discussion groups, and every now and then you see just about every site somebody brings up the point, well, I visited my dentist, and my dentist says that my vegetarian diet is ruining my teeth. So that's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. The dentist would say that, and I want to deal with that a little bit later here. First of all, when I was, let's see, gum surgery. It's barbaric. When I first read about this and I started digging into the research, first thing I read was, it's a bacteria problem. Why on earth are we using surgery for a bacteria problem? Does that make any sense to anybody? You know, we wouldn't survive our medicine if we used surgery for all our bacteria problems, you know. It turns out we actually do have natural approaches that are even more effective than drug approaches to dealing with bacteria, especially in the mouth. It's painful and expensive, as I mentioned. I was actually in a daze for several days when I just read this point. I've never ever had a dentist tell me that it had something to do with bacteria. Have you ever had a dentist tell you that it's a bacteria problem that we're dealing with here in the mouth? Anybody? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, more recently they are starting to talk about it because there were those studies that came out that talked about the connection between the bacteria of gum disease and heart disease. And I'll talk about that because I just saw about just about 2 or 3 weeks ago a Yahoo News article, and they said, well, we know there's a connection between the gum disease and the heart disease, but we don't know exactly why or how. Well, we do know why or how now. It's just that they haven't gotten the studies. USC did a wonderful study on that. So I'll be talking about that. Let's see what else I can do now. All right. It's important to know that there are 22 bad bacteria in the mouth. And these are the things they cause. They cause virtually everything that goes on in the mouth. From bad breath, bleeding gums, receding gums, canker sores, plaque, tartar, cavities, loose teeth. It's all caused by the same 22 bacteria. Now, it's well known, these bacteria, they have good names, hard to pronounce names, but the scientists know about it. It's just that your dentist keeping it a secret from you, I guess.
So there's 22 different kinds of bacteria in the mouth?
Yeah, 22 different bacteria in the mouth that are bad bacteria. You also have good bacteria. And that's one of the things. You don't want to challenge the good bacteria. You want to just take care of the bad bacteria. If you wipe it all out, like some of the dental solutions they have, it actually wipes out all the bad and good bacteria. When you do that, you actually create an environment where the bad bacteria can spring back faster. So you actually have you've created a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And well, you know, the dentists don't have much faith in those medicines that they have. Even though they're strong antibacterial medicines, they don't have much faith in them because they never seem to give them to you to cure gum disease. They give them to you as preparation for surgery, you see. So this is, I'm going to just point out to you how bad the problem is. These statistics come from American Dental Association's own website. 50% of those over 55 need gum surgery. 50% of those over 65 have lost most of their teeth. 25% have lost all their teeth. And this is with the help of the dentist. You know, there are things that you really need a dentist for, but this does not speak well for dental science, these statistics.
What country is those facts true?
United States? and that was just the United States. Come on. Okay, that's going the wrong way. Okay, recent studies have found that about 90% of us have the bacteria in our mouth that leads to gum disease. You know, before I saw studies saying 60%, and more recent studies say 90%. You know, it's virtually everybody has these things in the mouth. It's just that, you know, people don't realize it when they have bad breath or when they have loose gums, receding teeth, and things like receding gums and loose teeth, things like that. Basically, that's how it starts. It starts in the more mild forms, and later on it gets to these very serious gum disease requiring gum surgery or some other thing. The bacteria can take 10, 20 years to become full-blown gum disease. All right, the bacteria can migrate. This is really incredible. Now I want to talk about one particular bacteria. I can't pronounce the name. It's one of those, I just call it the baddest of the bad guys. He hangs out in your mouth, and what he does there is he creates a coating over your teeth and gums after you've eaten. And all the bad bacteria hide behind that coating. So he's the guy that protects all the other bad guys in the mouth, okay? Well, it turns out that this bad guy gets into the bloodstream. The mouth is very porous. I don't know if you realize that, but there's such a thing as spray vitamins. That's considered the best way to get vitamins into your system. It's because the mouth is very porous. The bacteria can actually get in there and gets into your arteries. That bacteria gets into your arteries, and they know that somehow it's related to gum disease. Gum disease is related to heart disease. But here's what they did at USC. USC did autopsies on 2,500 stroke victims. And in every single case, they found this one bad guy, this baddest of the bad guys involved in the arteries. What he does is he hangs out in the arteries, attaches to the arteries, attaches to fatty deposits, and he's the one who creates the plaque. The plaque in your mouth is the same as the plaque in your heart, in your arteries. It's the same bacteria that produces it, okay? So this is a very serious problem. Your mouth is like the staging ground for the attack for the rest of the body from the bad bacteria. Now, being a vegetarian is a very good thing, but that doesn't necessarily deal with bacteria. You know, bacteria is a very serious issue. We need to address it. There are natural ways to address that. We'll bring that up. But here's the other thing, just to make the picture a little more clear, a little more complete. You've also been told that heart disease comes from bad cholesterol, LDL, the lousy cholesterol. Well, guess what? The lousy cholesterol happens to be the #1 food of that bad bacteria. Now you see it's all sort of fitting together. Now you can see that they actually have the mechanics of how gum disease leads to heart disease.
Can I just ask you a quick question in regards to plaque? Is that considered calcification?
Well, you know, a lot of the doctors, even to this day, view the plaque as being very, very hard, like calcium, like cement. Now, I do have, I've investigated this and gone much further into it, and there are ways now, there's Nobel Prize winning science on how to get rid of the plaque in your arteries. I actually helped a dentist friend of mine. He happens to be the most incredible dentist I've ever met in my life in terms of what he can do for dentistry. He actually does things that most people say cannot be done. And I'll be talking about him a little bit more. But the thing is, he actually had a very serious heart problem, and he was told by 2 doctors, including the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, that he needed a heart transplant. And I got him introduced to the doctor that invented a certain product, and basically he is back to full health in 6 months without transplant. There are ways using natural, this is not using a drug, it's using natural substances, Nobel Prize winning science, in order to get rid of the plaque. So, but that's a side issue, and I will, if you want to get on my mailing list, I will let you know when I'm going to be speaking about that at some point. Actually, I'm going to be speaking about that in San Jose coming up November 19th at a health retreat there. But right now, we'll stick to gum disease. This is like one of the first steps to know about. Gum disease has been associated with pancreas problems, mental functioning. If you just type in mental functioning and gum disease, tons of sites will come up. Everything from you know, cognitive abilities and things like this. But also, it can be much more serious. It has been linked to Alzheimer's. And I saw just one study, I wish there were more studies linking it to mental illness. But those are links. When they talk about links, you know, they're saying, okay, there must be a relationship between this and this. But it's really much better science when you actually see the mechanics of how you get from A to B. And that's what I explained about that USC study.
Do you have a specific reference for that study?
I can get that for you.
Okay.
Recent studies of...
You've already done that.
I'm going the wrong way. Bacteria battle. Let me come back to that. There we go. By the way, worse than any horror movie you've ever seen is to spend an evening looking through Google images of teeth and gums. Oh, Jesus, frightening as hell. That's why I'm using a cartoon here, because it looks so much better. But I want you to understand, this is a battleground. This is a battleground over real estate of your mouth between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. Can you read that? Battleground of the mouth over the real estate of the mouth. The difference between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria is, you know, it's not like they're wearing uniforms. How do you tell the difference? Well, the bad bacteria are anaerobic. They hate oxygen. That's why they have to hide behind that film in your mouth. The good bacteria love oxygen. It turns out your saliva is full of oxygen and it's also full of enzymes that help fight the bad bacteria. So your saliva is one of the good things for you, one of the things working for you in this battleground. What I'm trying to describe here is all the different factors that can affect your mouth. So that means alcohol. Anything that dries out the mouth is actually bad for the mouth. So why is it that we see alcohol in all kinds of products that are supposed to be good for the mouth? Now one of the more products that I'm pretty upset about is Listerine. They actually had huge amounts of alcohol in Listerine, to the point that a lot of people are coming down with cancer. The FDA actually took up the charge here on behalf of the consumer, if you can believe that. They sued them for 11 years. 11 years Listerine fought against backing off on the amount of alcohol in their product, regardless of the fact that all this cancer was coming down. I would say Listerine is not a good friend. Not a good friend of the consumer. Now they still have about 21–22% alcohol. Any alcohol in a any alcohol in an oral hygiene product is a sign that you don't want to take that product. Now, they use alcohol not only as a preservative of what other good stuff might be in there, but it's also a filler. You might get a big bottle, but you're paying for the alcohol, which is a cheap filler compared to the really good stuff that might be there.
So is it true that if you just drink alcohol and swirl it around in your mouth, that's killing bacteria too? I mean, that's killing the...
Well, it's
bacteria
great,
also?
yeah, well, you might be killing some bacteria, actually, but the thing is, you've also set yourself up for a dry mouth, and again, that helps the bad bacteria spring back faster. Now, one of the things I discovered as I was going through this, and I remember actually discovering this with other products, and not just oral hygiene products, but a lot of products are actually designed maybe 70–80% for you and the rest against you. I discovered this when I met an expert on skin problems, and all the people who came to her for acne treatment, and she had tubs and tubs of acne treatment medicines that people were throwing out. Just throwing it out because when they realized there's stuff in there that fights the acne, and there's stuff in there that actually promotes the acne. You know, and this is the same kind of thing going on with a lot of oral hygiene products. So you want to know what are the good ingredients. I'm going to help you get that clear today. Yeah, I will likely sound like a broken record. When I talk to the scientists behind this, they were often telling me, no, Art, it's a bacteria problem. I said, well, what about this? What about this? I mean, these things can contribute to gum disease, right? And I said, okay, I talked about this mouthwash, alcohol is drying, breath mints is a drying and sugar problems. Did you know that toothpaste years ago had a lot of sugar in it?
Yeah.
Before I get into that, I'll try to stick to the program. I wanted to explain a little bit about oils and why oils are so healing and so beneficial. First of all, I discovered this when I had laryngitis. I was doing a lot of public speaking. I kept coming down with laryngitis. It was very embarrassing. I kept having to cancel lectures over and over again. And someone said, well, why don't you gargle with hydrogen peroxide? I said, okay, I'll try that. But my throat felt so harsh and dry. I'm sure I was killing a lot of germs, but someone else said, well, why don't you try the Ayurvedic way? Gargle with sesame oil or olive oil. So what I did is I would do first the hydrogen peroxide, then I'd gargle with the sesame oil or olive oil, and boy, it was so soothing, so relaxing. It's when I discovered the value of oils as a healing, soothing product. Now the thing is, a lot of your toxins in your body are actually stored in your lipids, that is your fatty tissues. That's why oils are often used as a way to get those toxins out. One of the best systems I've ever heard of is Panchakarma. Panchakarma is an Ayurvedic system. Pancha means 5. And actually it was a study that was actually paid for by the American Institute of Health, which is like the government agency that pays for this stuff, and they watch closely. And so it was a very good study. For the first time ever, they actually found ways to get PCBs and DDTs out of people's bodies. And they used this Panchakarma method. And basically the method they used was using oils to basically purify the body. I want to introduce ORAMD. ORAMD is 3 well-chosen essential oils. It destroys all 22 bacteria, is soothing to the whole oral cavity. It is like a bandage. You see, you can regrow your gum tissue, but you're not going to be able to do that unless you give a right healing environment. And just like when you have a cut on your arm, you put some antiseptic ointment on there, and then you put a bandage on there to keep it covered, to keep it clean. Same thing with your mouth. You're not going to put bandages on your mouth, but the oils linger. They stay in the mouth and act like a bandage. They keep the mouth clean. And this is what's so wonderful about this product. Many other products that are designed to fight bacteria in the mouth don't seem to have that lingering oil sensation, and that's why I think it's so important.
Are you suggesting if your gums already have receded and you have spaces between your teeth, you can reverse that?
Well, the kind of reversals I've seen mostly have been the deep pockets. The deep pockets, which I'll get into a little bit later, I'll show you a diagram of that. They've actually been able to come back. In other words, if you have deep pockets of 6s and 7s, they're talking about gum surgery for you. There are many people who have like 11s and 12s. Now, this dentist I told you about, Dr. Sun, he's up in Lake County. He had a nice write-up about him in one of the dental journals. He actually brought someone back from 11, pockets of 11, and brought them all the way back to 1/2. And he basically is using a little more complicated, but it's an antibacterial approach. This is why I'm so proud of him. He also uses, here's the thing, you talk to most dentists, they'll tell you, you can't regrow gum tissue. They think you have to have super optimum care of your mouth in order to have any improvement there, that's what they'll say. And they don't think anybody can really do that. He's done it in his practice, as I just said. But also, most dentists will be absolutely adamant that you cannot regrow bone tissue. Dr. Sutton has regrown bone tissue in his practice.
How to spell his name?
Huh?
How to spell his name?
S-U-N.
How do you regrow bone tissue?
Well, you'll have to talk to him about that. I'm getting off track here. I want to stay on the...
You skipped over stress a couple slides back.
I
I
think
did.
so, yeah. One more.
It's
Two
very
more.
stressful when you do that.
One more.
Oh, okay. Good, I'm glad you keep me on track here. Actually, this is an important topic because a lot of people think about stress. Combat veterans coming out of behind the lines, oftentimes they have poor nutrition back there, and oftentimes the stress and everything, so they come out with bleeding gums and receding gums and all that. So people often think stress must be a cause of it. But when I talked to my scientists about this, they said, it's not the cause, it's a factor. Because what you're doing with stress is you're creating an environment that helps the bad bacteria grow. In other words, stress diminishes your immune system. That works against you. That creates a battleground that looks better for the bad bacteria. But I also want to talk about nutritional stress. Scurvy, and you remember how nutrition started. It was the discovery of vitamin C and how it cured scurvy. That's why the British sailors were called limeys, because they gave them these limes to suck on to get their vitamin C. Remember this from grade school? Well, do you remember what the first symptoms of scurvy were?
Teeth falling out.
Huh?
The
Teeth falling out, or bleeding gums, or receding gums. Basically, they were under nutritional stress. Maybe they had other stress as well, but when you don't have enough vitamin C or enough of other nutrients, you have nutritional stress. And it's like your mouth is talking back to you. It's the first part of your body to talk back to you. It talks back with bleeding gums and receding gums, saying, hey, you got to take care of the body better. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Vegetarian nutritional issues. Okay, I mentioned that before. If a dentist says that you're being a vegetarian is somehow diminishing your immune system and that's affecting your teeth and gums, first of all, you might have to test him to see if he really understands about the bacterial foundation of dental problems. And second of all, he doesn't understand that the vegetarian diet can actually be so much more helpful in terms of helping you deal with stress, and also, well, if you do vegetarianism right, if you take care of the vitamin B12 and calcium and things like that. So I would not take this as a statement that you need to get out of the vegetarian diet. If there is a problem there, you need to look at the nutrition you have as a vegetarian. So, anything else here? Let's see. There we go. ORAMD is antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and it's a powerful plaque fighter. There are hundreds of varieties of almond oil, peppermint oil, and spearmint oil, and there are dozens of properties of each type, literally millions of combinations. The scientists put together the right properties. They're always focused on scientifically addressing all 22 of those bad bacteria. By the way, if you ever talk to a dentist about the 22 bacteria, some of them will start to talk like this, and it becomes a very iffy conversation, like, well, maybe 10 of them cause cavities, and maybe 11 or 12 of them cause gum disease, but we're not sure about 4 or 5 of them in the middle that might cause both. Or, it becomes a crazy conversation. So the important thing is, let's just get rid of all the bad bacteria as best we can, or keep it under control. Yes?
So when you say there are different properties, are these herbalist properties or are they Ayurvedic properties? Or
They're looking for the properties that address those 22 bacteria.
But in what context? Go one way, by the way.
I'm not sure of the question. Herbalist versus,
When I say properties, what other properties are you using
Well,
to categorize?
they have some trade secrets, and I'm not sure, I can't really get into details of that, or them and that.
So
We can try,
it's not
maybe we can talk.
It's not these are public categories.
Huh?
They're not public categories.
Well, like I said, all I know is that they're addressing those,
Okay.
the ones that are best at killing the bad bacteria.
Who's doing this?
Hmm?
Who's doing this?
The ORAMD, scientists behind ORAMD.
Where does ORAMD come from?
Hmm?
Where does ORAMD come from?
It's basically those 3 oils, almond, spearmint, and peppermint oil. It has a zing to it. It feels like it's working. That's one of the reasons why I like to recommend it. Because, if you have a product that works, but you don't feel it working, you're not going to continue using it. This has a wonderful zing. You know instantly you're getting rid of bad breath. And in fact, I'm going to pass around a sample here for you. Now, I need to make one thing very clear. This is a totally natural product. Now, when I say that, a lot of people think in their minds it must be weak. Natural means weak compared to the real drugs, right? Well, guess what? This is very strong, very strong. You only need 1 or 2 drops, and then, excuse me 1 second here. Tell you what, I'm going to pull off the label a little bit here. I don't want to mix up this bottle with the other bottles. I'm going to open up this fresh bottle. When it comes back to me, I don't want to mix it with my other bottles, obviously. And you can just, do a tap like that. Take it in your mouth. Feel it. It will have a tendency to stimulate your saliva, and it will fill up the whole mouth. And what you do with it at home is you put it in your mouth, 1 or 2 drops, and you brush all over. And it feels wonderful, the zing all around. So go ahead, try 1 or 2 drops.
So you just brush it with water?
Yeah.
And that?
Yeah.
Is this in the place, are we replacing this, we're not using toothpaste now?
They recommend that you, see if I have a slide on that. Yeah, they recommend that you stop doing toothpaste and also breath mints.
What about hydrogen?
And also mouthwash. Use this in the place of all those. And by the way, if you use this in the place of all those, you'll save money. This is much better.
Do you have a bottle for this?
Yeah, I'm going to do that for the before
So you put it on, you just put it right in your mouth or on your cheeks?
Well, some people put it on their toothbrush. I actually like to put it directly in my mouth. I don't like it falling off my toothbrush. So here's one freshly opened here.
What about hydrogen peroxide and baking soda?
Yeah.
Well, hydrogen peroxide, as I mentioned earlier, I find it to be a little harsh.
Okay.
But that was the method used a generation ago. And they actually have these irrigator devices, which I also have, that actually, these irrigator devices actually is where you can actually put liquids like that down into the pockets. That's how I was able to regrow my gum tissues and be able to come back from deep pockets.
What did you do? I didn't.
I had pockets of 6s and 7s when they were talking again about gum surgery for me. I brought them back in 3 months about 3 or 4s, and continued getting even further back than that. So yeah, it's very important. Let me just show you this. I probably can't see it too well, especially in the dark, but there's like a, well, it looks like a needle, but it's not a needle, it's actually a tube, a very small tube, and a syringe thing here, and this tube is crooked, bent a little bit, so you can actually get it down into the different pockets. Let me get into this if I can find the the actual site here. Well, okay, other reasons why I recommend ORAMD first. You have the certainty of addressing all 22 bacteria. It's pure. They feel there's more penetration when it's pure. The oils actually get in there, in between the teeth and into the pockets and nooks and crannies that you got there. Also, it's easier to use. There's no applicator. I'm talking about this applicator for those that have really serious deep pockets. And you'll experience a really clean mouth within 3 days. That's something really exciting. Most people don't even know what a clean mouth is. But here's the thing. When you take this product, I want you to use only 1 or 2 drops every time you brush. You can brush as much as you want. It'll use only 1 or 2 drops for the first 3 days. After that, you're going to have what we call a bacterial transition in the mouth. And then you can take more drops. Suddenly you'll realize you can actually take a lot more drops. How is it? Is it kind of strong?
Yeah.
So if you brush 2 or 3 times a day, when you're first starting to use it, should you just use 1 drop?
Yeah, 1 drop each time.
Uh-huh.
You've got to give your body a chance to adjust to this. And like I said, it's very strong, and you want to get through this 3-day period. Then you'll suddenly realize, wow, my mouth feels so much cleaner. You'll notice the difference. You will notice it in 3 days. Yes?
Got it before you brush or after?
Well, people are using this without brushing with toothpaste. Is that what your question is?
Yeah.
Okay, let me talk about this. We have a toothpaste habit here. I like toothpaste, but I get only the best kind that doesn't.
Who needs brushing with just one toothbrush?
No, I mean, I use toothpaste.
Yeah.
Which I like, and I don't plan on not using it. So
Yeah,
the
right. So
question
you
is
do
when,
that.
before,
You do
after.
that. You do that, and then do ORAMD after. You want
Okay.
the ORAMD to linger in the mouth. I do it as the last thing before going to bed. Also, I recommend you get 2 different toothbrushes. Because when you're mixing flavors, you don't realize there's how much flavor is left on that old toothbrush that you're using. Also, here's another thing, folks. If you buy the cheapest toothbrushes that you can get at Walgreens or Target or Walmart,
99 cents.
they're made in China, and they have very poor glue. ORAMD will wipe out that glue, and so your toothbrush will fall apart. Okay? So you can use that toothbrush for toothpaste if you want, but get the good quality toothbrushes, the ORAMDs and things like that for the ORAMD. I like to use what's called a flossing toothbrush. In fact, I have a sample I'm going to show you. Flossing toothbrush is not to be considered a substitute for flossing, but it is a wonderful idea. You keep going here
The
because
brand of it is, it's called Fuchs, F-U-C-H-S, the flossing toothbrush.
flossing
It's
toothbrush. Yeah.
F-U-C-H-S.
They have them in rainbow at a reasonable price. One more backwards.
I'm having a hard time hearing. Could we all focus and listen to the speaker, please?
Maybe ask questions at the end.
Yeah, let's ask questions at the end.
There's a seat up here at the front.
Do you know what probe charts are? How many of you know what a probe chart is?
Yeah.
When you go to the dentist, ask for a copy of your probe chart. Your dentist will have this little tool where he goes down into your deep pockets, and he calls out the numbers to the hygienist usually, and then she writes down what the numbers are. And that's why I mentioned the numbers earlier, like 6s and 7s and 10s and 11s. Well, it might be nice to know exactly where you're having a deep pocket issue starting. So you can ask for this. Most dentists will cooperate with this. I had one dentist, or actually my periodontist, decided to mail it to me later. He wasn't prepared to give it to me right then and there. I think sometimes they're a little afraid that we're going to be sued or something. I don't know. But yeah, so you need the probe chart, and that'll help you in your guidance as to what you're working on. Now here is an example of what I'm talking about. So you can see right here the periodontal pocket. This is a deep pocket. The probe would go down pretty deep here. The other side is a healthy gum. You can see that. This is an inflamed gum with a pocket. In those pockets, food particles go there, and then bacteria multiplies like crazy. And then it gets deeper and deeper, and then it starts to threaten the tooth. Here's another example. You can see on the far side over here, on that other half, that it's starting to affect the tooth at the root right there, at the junction of the root. It's pretty serious. The tartar and all that. Now here is the probe. Here's the probe showing a good tooth or good gums, and it doesn't go down very far. So I just wanted you to be able to see what I'm talking about in terms of the pockets. And by the way, folks, have any dentists ever told you that you need to take care of 3 mechanical cleaning processes in your mouth? Have you ever heard of that? Three mechanical cleaning? Well, you know, I'm saying that you also need to have a bacterial approach to solving these problems. But even with the mechanical part, we're not getting good advice on that. You have to brush to get rid of, each of these cleaning areas needs a different tool. So people ask me, what I think about the mechanical toothbrushes. No tool is going to do all 3 jobs. You need to brush to get the bacteria off of the surface that are hiding behind that film. You also need to do the flossing, the little proxy brushes to get between the teeth. And you also need to take the rubber tip and clean out the pockets as best you can. Those are 3 important jobs. Now, I did ask a periodontist at one time, what can I do if I start to have a little sore somewhere? And what can I don't want to run to the dentist every time I start to feel a little sore. So he said, here's what you can do. He said, you can go to the drugstore and buy those plastic products, different kinds of things, toothpicks, plastic brush picks. I'll show you a sample of that in a little bit. You work it hard. He says, don't worry if it bleeds. Bleeding gums means it's unhealthy gums. Work it really hard, because what you're doing, he's the first guy to really talk to me about bacteria in the mouth. You're disturbing the home of the bacteria. So you've got a sore spot, work it hard with these plastic. Obviously the dentist has metal tools, or what you can buy in the drugstore, plastic tools, a little softer tools, rubber tips, things like that. And he said within 3 days, the bleeding will go and the pain will go. In about 3 days, 3, maybe 4 days. So I said, okay, that sounds like a good plan. That's a good plan to hear from my periodontist. It's not a bad plan at all. But I decided to add ORAMD. I'd stick the rubber tip in the ORAMD and start working it. The problem would be gone in a matter of a few hours, not a few days. You see what I'm saying? When you add in the bacterial fighting agent, it makes your mechanical cleaning go so much better. All right, what am I doing? I want to introduce another product. I used 2 products in my 3 months. This is called the Ultimate Gum Solution. I mentioned there was a previous generation, Winston Price, some of you may know the name. He was a dentist who was also a famous nutritionist. He basically thought that if you had optimal nutrition, that would help you have optimal immune system, and that would help you fight gum disease. Well, I think he's right on that. It's just that it's so hard in our world today to have optimal nutrition. But nevertheless, I wanted to use this product because, well, I was desperate. I wanted to have super results here. I did not want to go back and have gum surgery. 107 nutritional ingredients in this product. They're also antibacterial. They're not as strong. You won't feel the antibacterial aspect of it as you would here with this ORAMD product. And but I still recommend this, especially for those that have very serious problems. It's this company here that actually supplies these irrigator devices, and I only have about 10 of them left, and they charge about $15 or so, 15 plus, when you buy it online, plus shipping. I'm selling mine for $9. What the ancients did, in the ancient Ayurvedic texts, the oldest medical texts on the planet, they talked about 8 trees, 8 tooth-friendly and gum-friendly trees. This would include trees like prickly ash bark, which were used by the American Indians. But in India, they typically use, the palu tree, which has also been nicknamed the toothbrush tree. When I heard it was nicknamed the toothbrush tree, I said, okay, looks like what they're doing there is they're taking these trees and they're making crude toothpicks or maybe a crude brush. If you cut the branch of the toothbrush tree just right, it looks like a crude brush. Well, I was wrong, because that's not the extent of it. What's really going on there is those trees have resins in them, and in those resins are antibacterial oils, the same kind of approach that ORAMD is using and the Ultimate Gum Solution is using. So this is what the ancients were doing. And they say that even today, in places of Asia where they use these trees, they don't know what a dentist is, they don't know what a dental problem is, and they have the whitest teeth. So that tells you something right there.
talking about white teeth, is there another way you can get white teeth naturally?
Well, okay, talking about white teeth, the question came up. It's recommended you take care of your gums first before you do teeth whitening, because it can be a little hard on your gums. But if you're going to do teeth whitening, you should go to the ORAMD people and get their teeth whitening product, because it's all hydrogen peroxide. You get the best value for your money. But here's the thing, you'll find hydrated silica in those products. Hydrated silica is one of the bad ingredients found in a lot of toothpaste. It actually rips away your enamel. It's pretty bad stuff. Well, why would you put that into a product that's supposed to whiten your teeth, you know?
It's like an abrasive polish, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, toothpaste, why? Why? Well, we all have a habit of toothpaste. I like a really clean mouth, so I use toothpaste. But again, it's really important to understand that there's... Well, let me ask you, how many of you are using natural toothpaste? Like some of these you see up here. Any that you don't see up here that you're using?
Ayurveda,
Ayurveda?
the one that she sells.
Okay, well, you're ahead of the game.
There's
I
another
use the
xylitol one.
oxygen.
Huh?
I use the oxygen toothpaste that you get from the.
Oxygen, okay.
I think it's Kiss My Face, maybe, xylitol.
Kiss my face.
And what do you think of using zeolites, like just with some water, like the Health Force Zeo?
You know, a friend of mine just turned me on to zeolite recently, and I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't want to talk about it until I've actually tried it.
Because I know they say it's small, the particles are like small as a red blood cell, so they're super fine, and it's not supposed to be too abrasive. Anyways,
Yeah, we'll talk about that some
Well,
other time.
my dad brushes his teeth with baking soda, and he's 89 and has all his teeth.
Yeah, baking soda I think is a good
He has
idea.
all his teeth.
Yeah, I think baking soda is a good idea. Some people mix baking soda with salt, but dentists sometimes disapprove of that because they think it might be a little
He
harsh.
doesn't have
Yeah.
much problems with his teeth.
Yeah. Okay, let me continue here for a minute.
That's all his teeth.
Folks, every toothpaste you see up here, I consider a defective toothpaste.
Oh, man.
Every one, including Tom's and Maine's. Tom's and Maine has sodium lauryl sulfate in it. They promised for years that they were going to come out with a product that would not have sodium lauryl sulfate. When they finally came out with it, it had a close cousin to sodium lauryl sulfate. Let me see if we can get into this.
What's wrong with sulfate?
Sodium lauryl sulfate, it's a skin irritant. Why would you want to use a skin irritant on the most sensitive tissues in your body, your gum tissues? Now, when the scientists want to test a cream to see how well the cream is doing to fight skin problems, they'll put sodium lauryl sulfate on somebody's arm, and then they'll put their cream to see how well it works. You know, the scientists know, they know it's a skin irritant. It doesn't do anything to clean the mouth. It doesn't do anything to fight the bacteria. It has a lot of serious problems. It's a sudsing agent. It's a gimmick. Now, by the way, back in the 1990s, there's a number of religious organizations that sued the toothpaste companies. I don't know if you know about this. It's been kept kind of hush-hush. They sued them over the fact that they were using animal products in their toothpaste without making it clear. They used some scientific name, but it was beef soup or it was pork fat. Of course, that is offensive not just to vegetarians, but it's offensive to different religions. Now, they lost that lawsuit and they came out with new formulations. It was in the middle of the 90s that I remembered that they came out and started using more sodium lauryl sulfate, a sudsing agent. They needed a new gimmick since they had to get rid of the pork fat. And by the way, as I understand it, Sensodyne still has pork fat in it. But some of the others got rid of the bad animal products. Okay, here's a little bit more about sodium lauryl sulfate. I'm going to be sending you some reports, including in those reports would be my report on the 7 harmful ingredients. Also, I've gone through and looked at maybe 30 different flavors and brands of toothpaste. And there's only 6 out of them that I would consider good and useful to you. So you want to sign up for that. Let me get my there it is. Keep looking for this. It's over here.
All right, you have 6 minutes.
And what?
6 minutes.
All right, then let me explain that ORAMD will cost you about $25 if you go and buy it online. $25.92. The Ultimate Gum Solution will cost you $33.97. What I do is I buy a bunch at wholesale and make it available to you here at $15 each bottle. So that's a real good saving. So that, once you get started, now by the way, in the future you can get the bottles for about $15. The only thing is you'd have to buy 7 of the ORAMDs to get the per price down to $15. Or you'd have to buy 20 of the Ultimate Gum Solutions to get their per price down to $15. So what I'm recommending is that you all get an ORAMD today, at least that. If you have really serious problems, also get the Ultimate Gum Solution. By the way, you can swallow these things. You can't swallow toothpaste. In fact, it's most of these toothpaste out there have warning labels on them.
Do not swallow.
Yeah, do not swallow. Do not let your child brush teeth without adult supervision. You know, those the types that I recommend for being safe for you. I actually had parents give those toothpaste to little toddlers and let them swallow it because it's perfectly beautiful plant-based products. No bad chemicals at all. But the standard toothpaste do not swallow. You can swallow Ultimate Gum Solution. You can swallow. In fact, it's good because you have another place where a lot of bad bacteria hang out is in the back of your throat. So I swallow all the time. I've been doing it for years. You can also swallow the Ultimate Gum Solution because you've got 107 nutritional ingredients that will help you as well. And so it feels good to be able to do that. To have a product that natural that you can swallow.
What's in the Ultimate Gum Solution? I know it's 170.
Yeah, you'll have to go to the website to see what the list of ingredients are. I'm going to pass this out. This pink one here is about the ORAMD. I'm going to pass out a blue sheet about Ultimate Gum Solution, or the pink, or the green sheet, I should say. Folks, you have at home, I'm sure, stacks and stacks of paper of beautiful 4-color brochures. But in a few months, you're going to see, a few weeks, you're going to see your pile of papers, and you're going to see this little pink sheet sticking out. And you're going to say to yourself, "Oh, that's the important one. That's the one I got to pay attention to." Okay? Here you go.
Is there any of this information on your, do you have a website, like you said you have the?
Yeah, there's, you'll see websites, emails for me, and phone numbers for me are on there. And by all means, call me, especially if you have problems and want to talk at length. By the way, let me talk to you about people that have called me with very serious problems. One example is very typical. A friend of mine called, said, "Hey, I'm three days away from getting gum surgery. I just heard about what you're offering here. What can I do?" First thing I tell them is, I cannot speak against dental advice. I'm not looking into your mouth. I'm not qualified to look into your mouth. However, go to your dentist and ask your dentist if you can postpone the gum surgery for 1, 2, or 3 months, and then use these products religiously. My friend did this recently. He went back to see his dentist. His dentist totally forgot that he needed gum surgery. Totally forgot.
What do you think about water picks?
What's that?
Water picks.
Water pick sounds good. Anything that clean, that's a mechanical cleaning thing, right?
Yeah.
But you still need the bacteria. You need the antibacterial
Do you
approach.
use one?
What about the ultrasound cleaners?
Yeah,
What do you think?
I've not gotten into that. My son swears by it. But again, you're talking about mechanical approaches. You can have better and worse mechanical approaches. I have one more thing to pass out here before you guys all run off.
What do you do so long you got the gum disease? That would help us more than this.
Say that.
What do you do so long you got the gum disease so we could prevent us getting the gum disease?
Listen, you'll never fully get rid of all the gum.
Feed your bacteria.
You'll never fully get rid of the bad bacteria. It's part of life.
What did you do wrong that you got the gum disease?
What I did wrong?
Yeah.
I think I just live a normal life. Like I say, 50% of us are going to have this kind of problem.
What did you do wrong though so we can take the preventive methods and not get the bad gum disease?
I'm sorry, what did I do wrong?
What did you do wrong so we did not do that? So we won't get the gum disease.
I probably kissed the wrong person and got gum disease from that person. You know, listen, the gum disease germs are everywhere in everybody's mouth. I talk about a study that found 90% of us have those bacteria in our mouth. So yeah, so what did we do wrong? By the way, there is a purpose for those bad bacteria. I call them bad bacteria because they do such a mess in the job. But part of their purpose is to break down the food particles you forgot to get out of your mouth. They actually have a purpose. But after they break that down, they multiply and then become problems all over the body, as I mentioned. Let's see what else. Yes, another question?
Yeah, I have two very brief things, Art. Is it possible to use an applicator prophylactically if you're not having any problems?
No, excuse me one second. Say, my friend in the back there.
Okay,
she's
so
talking about-
prophylactically means that you're not having any symptoms, but you want to prevent, so
Right.
use it.
If you have deep pockets, if
If you don't, that's what I'm saying, if you don't have recession in your pockets, but you want to use it in a preventive measure, would you use that little applicator?
yeah, I would.
Okay. And then the other thing is, all essential oils are antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal. So why, and I'm not trying to challenge because I think this is beautiful, but why the spearmint and peppermint? Because there's like tea tree, there's myrrh, and a
Well,
lot
this is a
of.
question for the scientists. You can call the company and talk to the scientists, other people behind the product.
Some of them are not made to be taken internally. Those,
How about,
you
excuse
gotta
me,
watch.
I just handed out,
High-quality ones.
thank you. I just handed out this yellow form. I need you to pass that back to me if you want to get my reports. And also, if you want to buy the product today, I'm going to need you to turn this in because it's the only way I can really give you the prices I'm
I
going to
didn't
give.
get the yellow one.
Any more questions now? Oh, okay, you were talking, you give me.
Any thoughts on an electric toothbrush?
As I mentioned earlier, it's one mechanical approach. You need 3 approaches. If you're relying on just one, you're not going to do the job right. Let me pass this out. This is a short version of a longer report I'll be sending you. This can help you understand it. Let's see what else I got here, first of all. I'll get you.
When we floss our teeth, and it bleeds, does that maybe send bacteria into our bloodstream?
If you floss your teeth,
And it bleeds, does that send bacteria into our bloodstream?
well, I wouldn't worry as much about that. Your bleeding gums means it's unhealthy gums. It means you need to floss more. You need to get a rubber tip in there. You need to work on it. But like I say, if you use the antibacterial approach, that'll go away faster, much faster. Okay, I've talked about this. By the way, folks, you know that a lot of dentists will tell you, they'll speak so much about the value of fluoride. You realize that dentists are actually afraid of losing their license if they speak against fluoride?
Why?
Because it's just one of those crazy things that the Dental Association feels they should be behind. Here's that hydrated facility book. These are just some of the bad ingredients I'll be sending you reports on. Some of So, can't really get into the facts, the FAQs here. Time. Are you feeling empowered?
Yeah.
Like you can solve this problem now, right? You have the information you need? Now, read my reports when I send them to you. I'll be sending you a copy, electronic copies of what I already handed out to you, as well as these other reports. And these are my prices today. So,
That's okay.
Jamia, why don't you come on up?
Do you know anything about
John?
remineralizing powder?
No, I don't. Would you tell me about that later, or get right down for me? Let's shut off that machine there.